Eventually, though, people must have put together the character of Andrew Cunanan because his superlative in his high school yearbook was least likely to be forgotten.
You'll never fucking forget me. Blam.
Henry's was most likely to get his arm stuck in a candy machine.
That is. I fought that in court. I had to. I was like, this is fucking, you are smearing my name.
So after high school, Andrew enrolled at UC San Diego, where he did very poorly. Instead of going to class, Andrew was either nursing hangovers from partying the night before or playing hooky so he could hang outside of construction sites to ogle the workers.
Fuck yes. This is good.
That's so, like, just
Throwing it back at him.
Can you imagine just an entire construction crew of pedophiles just with like they're all working with their oiled muscles, just watching all the teenage boys going, hi, and you're like, yeah, like letting their muscles jiggle around the jackhammers and shit.
Yeah, swing that hammer, you piece of shit.
Just being like,
I don't want it anymore.
where's the head of the crew?
Bring your mom back.
But really, the lesson that Andrew was learning above all during college was that life could be relatively easy for a good-looking, charming young gay man if you just found the right guy to take care of you.
Amen.
But as Andrew focused on who else, amen. Amen, brother.
Sign me up.
Say it again. But as Andrew focused on who else but older men who were usually closeted, he began to realize how he could survive completely on charm and bullshit. Rather than becoming an escort, which he could have very easily gotten into that world, Andrew positioned himself as a quote-unquote companion. Put another way, Andrew was learning how to be a kept boy.
And it's about, there's always a question about how purposeful actions are in anybody's life, right? I feel like something like this is like, do you set out to be a kept boy? Because again, doesn't sound really safe in there. You know what I mean? When you're kept all the time. But I feel like he might have just sort of moved that way.
Well, there's different types of kept boys. Like there are certain kept boys who it is not encouraged that they leave the house.
Yeah.
They are encouraged to stay at home much of the time. Kept boy can also mean someone who gets an allowance. But you must know that you are my boy and nobody else's boy, and you must be there when I ask you to be there.
Yeah, balloons.
It's where opportunity meets preparedness.
Seneca.
Can I get a big lollipop?
But in order to stay in the high social circles into which these older men were welcoming him, Andrew found ways to blend in by knowing what forks to use at dinner, or what political figures he could discuss to surprise people with his knowledge on foreign affairs.
Fillard Billmore. Have you heard of him? Yeah, he was the 47th president, and he was the first gay man to ever fire a cannon. It's pretty on the fucking money. And if you dare double check me, I will fucking shoot you in the fucking head.
Well, by 1987, Andrew found himself in the circle of a fraternal organization called Gamma Mu, which is kind of like the gay version of the Elks Lodge.
I think the Elks Lodge is the gay version of the Elks Lodge.
That's Kiwanis.
We're gonna get sued.
That's gay businessmen.
Yeah.
You're thinking of the Shriners.
Oh, you mean to tell me nobody has two men with fezzes haven't had full-on doggy style on top of a pool table in most Elks Lodges across this country?
So turns out those red hats are just filled with condoms.
Yeah, they're condoms.
Well, today, Gamma Mu is an out and proud charity organization who gives scholarships to young LGBT kids in rural communities. It's a noble cause.
Yeah,
their website has a distracting number of rainbows on it.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, but back in Andrew Cunanan's time, Gamma Mu did charity nonetheless, but it was made up mostly of wealthy, closeted men. And Andrew became a popular boy to pass around when he entered in 1987. But he actually became a member in 1994, a few years, but after college, when he was starting to get much better at being fancy boy into fancy man.
Honestly, I prefer, if you were going to pass me around, can you get that spiral tight? Because I am sick of hitting my head on the fucking fan. All right? And ass first, please. If we could. I'm sick of kissing all these strangers.
Put the ass in pass.
Well, through this rotating cast of lovers, Andrew eventually got into BDSM.
Ooh, nasty.
About time.
Yeah, it's not nasty.
Nasty. According to Vulgar Favors, nasty.
Oh my God. Vulgar Favors, Vulgar Favors treats BDSM as like the worst thing. It leads to violence. It's so filthy and dirty. Only the worst people in the world engage in BDSM.
It's because they haven't come.
Yeah.
Ever. Like, they just don't come. You can get spanked, dog.
Yeah. And we met the founders of kink.com.
They're
and
great.
goddamn were they nice people.
BDSM probably curbs violence.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know what? I think it's completely separate. I just think you could put clamps in your nipples, and as long as you're doing it to yourself or somebody who's going, yeah, buddy, yeah, then, like, you know,
Rock and roll.
have at it. Just leave me alone at the farmer's market. I'm sick of these guys trying to hang these clothespins off of me. Fucking impractical chokers.
Well, Andrew said in his own purposefully shocking way that BDSM reminded him of what his father had done to him when he was a young boy.
The thing is, Mr. Molesto. And I told my father, honestly, while he was doing it, he's like, listen, I know how to cover us here. I'll start smiling. Because then, honestly, Daddy, then it's just bonding.
Now maybe I can go for Molesto. Sometimes. Every other time will be Molesto. How's about that?
I appreciate you.
Of course, I appreciate you.
He's dead, right?
Molesto?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, we'll find out. We'll find out soon.
Keep an eye on the mailbox. Well, not surprisingly, Andrew loved BDSM and he soon became a popular dom, although he could switch back and forth.
Again, this is all allegedly.
Allegedly. Meanwhile, Andrew's father, Modesto, was seeing that while lying about being successful is easy, actually being successful is pretty difficult in the stockbroker game.
Yeah.
In fact, Modesto was Molesto was lucky every other time. He was lucky he didn't land in jail for the shit he pulled. See, Modesto wanted to indulge Andrew in all of his expensive tastes the best he could, even went as far as to buy him this fancy Mazda.
Oh, yeah, he said it's the only one ever made in San Diego.
The only Mazda?
Yeah,
It's the only Mazda in San Diego?
It was a nice Mazda.
Form of like sports car Mazda.
Yeah.
Okay, no, that's a nice
It's a real fancy Mazda. You know, it's like how, I love Subarus and I only drive like Subaru Outbacks, but then there's like these like really expensive like Subaru sports cars that people soup up.
Who
like
in the
that.
living fuck would buy a Subaru sports car? Dude, I guess when Elizabeth Warren turned 75.
He has a lesbian haircut.
It's been noted.
Hey man, I'm telling you, there's going to be so many emails about Subaru sports cars, Subaru racing cars. It's a big thing.
They do a good job.
They do
fine.
racing cars. They do racing cars.
I have received the Subaru fam like motions. I've received.
Much better than a fucking Acura, I'll tell you that much.
Sure, we can agree on that.
Yeah, fuck them.
But the cash for all this shit, for the Mazda, for all the clothes, for everything, came from embezzled funds. See, Molesto had a scheme where he'd take money from his clients. I'm keeping it in my head.
I'm following.
We're gonna change it for next episode.
He would tell them that he was buying a stock, but the stock didn't exist. He just makes something up and keep the money for himself.
And it's a dumb scam.
Yeah.
Because eventually, someone's going to say, "Hey, where's my money?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when I worked at Dairy Queen, there was this one kid who would just steal out of the fucking register. And it's like, there is a process to stealing. You have to at least try to like do like some kind of process to stealing.
It is a job to be a quote unquote professional criminal. Like, it's a job. It takes due diligence. You need to sit and think about it. But that guy's probably now in like the House of Representatives.
Or dead. It's Florida.
Far more likely. No, God damn it.
You don't have to.
You're on Modesto, by the way.
Thank you. No, Modesto could usually keep these schemes going at various firms for a couple of years, but he'd always get caught and he'd always get fired. Because I don't think he took very much money at a time. Because if you've got a client that's investing like $500,000-$600,000 and you say like, hey, there's this stock for, like, ba-bump-a-bump. And then you can give me $1,000, and I'll put it in ba-bump-a-bump.
And he just sneaks it.
Yeah, he just sneaks it in and they forget all about the stupid stock that he made up.
Or he probably then would send back fake returns where he'd go and he'd say, look, this fake
that's
thing
like
is
Bernie
going
Madoff.
great. That's Bernie Madoff. But I don't know if he even went that far. It's also interesting that within the world of stockbrokers, the scamming so thick at this time, especially, and it's so prevalent that they just treat you like a Catholic priest, where they just kick you to another district.
Yep.
They just go like, all right, well, you've done too many crimes to work here still, but you could go work over at Mr. T's Fun Stock House, you know, with some garbage.